Hello there, friends. It's Jimmy Maverick. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Maverick Podcast. Today, we are going to talk about the Week 9 waiver wires. Another rough week for injuries. But again, it opens up opportunities for other players. So we're going to take a look at it. We're going to give you some names as well as some good streamers for your quarterback and defense. So here we go.
Listen up. It's time for the Fantasy Maverick Podcast, starring the guy who's going to help you win that fantasy championship, Jimmy Maverick.
Hello there, friends. It's Jimmy Maverick. Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Maverick Podcast, coming at you from Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I wanted to thank you all for watching me on the podcast today. And hey, before we begin, if you can give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share this with your friends, and of course, subscribe. All those things really help me out with the YouTube algorithm, and I do very much appreciate it. So thank you very much in advance. So, another week, man. More players biting the dust. Derrick Henry out for the season. James Robinson, day-to-day. I got to tell you, man, my benches are full of injured players. It's killing me. And guys that I keep expecting to come back, like Rob Gronkowski, a big fat goose egg after he played one play, and then he had to come out. And that was it. He was done. It's like, oh, man. It's tough. But on the other hand, I got these two teams that are super strong right now. One's at 8-0 and just cruising. I mean, it's just like amazing how strong this team is. Another one, I had a 3-game losing streak from weeks 4 through 6, but now I've won my last 2. I'm moving back into 4th place. That puts me back into playoff contention. That's exactly where I want to be. But my FFPCs, man, I'm having a tough time. 3-game losing streak in all my leagues right now. They started out so hot. They were like top 20% for points scored each of the first 3 weeks. And since that time, they have cratered. And I am just, again, you're just getting killed by injuries. Just so many players on IR. It's just like, that's the agony and the ecstasy, man, of fantasy football. But let's see how we can help ourselves. Going to hit that waiver wire. Never stop improving your team. We're going to keep on working on this. Let's start my quarterback streamers. So, again, I've got 3 guys here. I think all of them have the potential to get you over 20 points in Week 9. All have fantastic matchups. I believe all are at home. All of them are at home. So these are guys you can get off the waiver wire and just immediately stream. I'm usually not the kind of person that streams quarterbacks, but you totally can. I keep talking myself out of it during draft season. I spend a premium on a high-end quarterback, but then, you've got decent options every week off the waiver wire. So let's just talk about them. So the first one will be Tua from Miami. They get Houston at home. He's only 35% rostered. Now, last week was not a good week, but again, he was playing Buffalo, which is one of the best defenses in the league right now. So I'm not too worried about it. Before he played them in his prior 2 weeks, he had matchups against Jacksonville and Atlanta. He did great in both of those. I consider Houston a similar type of team, a bad defense. He should be able to be productive. Again, very easy for me to say that this guy's going to get you over 20 points this week. I also like Carson Wentz, who has found his new favorite wide receiver in Michael Pittman, which is very nice. He's only 56% rostered right now. In week 9, he gets the New York Jets at home. So again, a nice matchup against not a difficult defense. He should be very productive. Last week, he got 231 passing yards and 3 touchdowns against Tennessee. I think this is a better matchup this week, so he should do better. And again, 20-plus points on the board, in the cards, no problem. The guy I like the most, though, is only 2% rostered right now. And again, it's an opportunity from the main quarterback being injured and is going to miss who knows how long. But Taysom Hill of the New Orleans Saints, who has been in concussion protocol. So obviously you gotta watch this and see how he's doing during the course of the week. They do expect him to return to practice on Wednesday, which would be a great sign. But again, Taysom Hill's rushing ability gives him a fantastic floor that these other two guys don't really have. His prowess around the end zone to get into the end zone and do those rushing touchdowns make him a very safe prospect for the upcoming week. So again, I think he's going to be a really good choice. I am going to try to get him in a couple of my leagues. We'll see what happens. But 3 great streaming options for you. So let's talk running backs, man. Jeez, I mean, it's just amazing how bad the running back situation has been. I mean, let's talk about Philly first of all, because Philly is just a full-on timeshare nightmare. The worst kind of backfield that you want to look at is 3 running backs each getting 33% share of the backfield. It's just not viable. It is a non-viable play. And so, you've got Kenneth Gainwell, who everyone said was going to become the lead back. That obviously didn't happen. You got Boston Scott, who had a pretty good game. And then you had Jordan Howard. Are you kidding me? Jordan Howard came in and also did his thing. None of these guys hit my threshold of 15 touches and targets. All of them were under that, which means none of them are startable. In my book, I would not start them, any of them. Maybe Gainwell if you're in PPR. You could consider that for your flex. But again, it's just, these guys, they're not rostered real high, so you can get them. I mean, Gainwell is the highest rostered at 64%. Howard's at 2%. Boston Scott's at 20%. So you can get these guys, but I would put them as your lowest priority running backs to pick up, just because of the situation of this backfield and how much I hate Philly for what they've done to me this fantasy season. I'm just hating everything they do, everything. But regardless. Next up, we've got we've got Tennessee, right? Derrick Henry gone for the season. That just terrible, right? So who's going to take his place? Darrington Evans is still on injured reserve, so he's not coming back anytime soon. And today we got news that Adrian Peterson is signing with the team. And is Adrian Peterson someone you should roster? And I'm going to tell you right now, no, it's just not going to be worth it. Adrian Peterson is 36 years old. This guy's ceiling is what you would maybe consider like what Frank Gore did for years, or what Mark Ingram was doing this year in Houston. He could get like 15 to 18 touches, but it's all going to be low value touches, no targets, because he doesn't catch balls. He's never been a pass catcher. And, you're talking a guy who's going to maybe get you 3 yards per carry. Again, it is a total, there's no way you can consider starting someone like Adrian Peterson. It's just, you're going to regret it if you do it. So who would you pick up instead? Well, I would go Jeremy McNichols. Now, McNichols is not built, he's not a Derrick Henry. No one's a Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's one of a kind. But McNichols has actually been producing in this backfield, although mostly as a pass catcher. So I figured that role is going to expand, as I think this team is going to have to pass the ball more, so that portends to more volume for that on that side going forward. And I figure he's probably going to get a handful of touches as well. So is he going to hit the 15 targets and touches? I don't know if he will. But again, I would prefer Jerry McNichols to anyone in the Philly backfield. Why? Because there's only 2, and one of them is a really old dude. So I'm not worried about the volume there. I think he will get it. He will be productive. So I would definitely pick up Jeremy McNichols. And then you also have Carlos Hyde. Now, we don't know how long James Robinson's going to be out. Apparently, it's not a major injury, and he's listed as day-to-day, which is good news, which means he could play this next week, possibly. But if he doesn't play, I think Carlos Hyde would be a solid play. The most shocking thing that happened this past week when Carlos Hyde came in is the dude got 8 targets. 8. The Carlos Hyde is not a pass catcher. I don't know what happened. I hate Urban Meyer with a rage, a burning passion. I can't stand the way this guy is coaching. I can't stand what he's doing to this team. It is just a total cluster. Carlos Hyde got more targets than Marvin Jones. He got more targets than Laviska Shenault. Why? Why are you doing this to me, Urban Meyer? You are killing me. But anyway, you should probably pick up Carlos Hyde. So of all these guys, the highest priority I would put on is Jeremy McNichols, then probably Carlos Hyde. And then if you get around to it, maybe pick up Gainwell or Boston Scott if you can get them. But that would be my priority order for you for this week. Moving on to wide receivers. Again, you've got injuries creating opportunities and some guys coming back from injuries. So these are guys you can pick up. Again, talking about Jacksonville again, Jamal Agnew. Who is this guy? Somehow he's Urban Meyer's favorite guy. It just 12 targets last week. 12. Unbelievable passing volume to this guy instead of your main receivers. I don't get it, but as long as he's getting that volume, you can start this guy. He's averaged over 7 targets per game for the past 3 games. So again, you can start him, and I think you can cut Chenault at this point. Why bother? I'd cut all my Jacksonville players if I could, man. I'm just like totally frustrated with that situation. Another guy who keeps showing up on my waiver wire to pick up, Cole Beasley, who's currently 61% rostered. Now, Beasley continues to be a total enigma when it comes to his volume. He is up and down and up and down. Look at his volume over the past 5 games. 13, 2, 9, 13 this past week. He's just all over the place. He's an all-or-none player. For me, Cole Beasley is a guy you want for daily fantasy. That's what I've been saying since the preseason, really. He's a daily fantasy guy. But I think you got to pick him up, especially if you're really kind of hurting on the wide receiver side. I would much rather play Cole Beasley than Marvin Jones right now, or Laviska Shenault, or any of those Jacksonville jackasses. Cole Beasley is a guy, you just roll the dice and you hope it pays off. You got a 50-50 shot, 50-50. Devonta Parker, guy that just came back from injury, immediately was second on the team in targets. He got 11 targets in week 8. So again, Miami gets a nice matchup against Houston. I think he's going to be productive. And I think, with that kind of volume, absolutely you can start him. Absolutely, no question. I think I have one more running wide receiver here. Oh yeah, one more wide receiver, Jamison Crowder, the New York Jets. Very shocking what happened with the quarterback this past week. White, I think his name is White. Holy cow, what an amazing debut for a rookie quarterback coming in off the bench. Had a great game, a high volume passing game that benefited Jamison Crowder. He has averaged over 7 targets a game for 4 consecutive weeks. He went 9, 6, 6, 9. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for consistency. So I think, he is in flex consideration. If you get him on your team, you can put him in your flex. I think he's better for PPR because I think their scoring potential is obviously limited on that team. But as a PPR play, I think he's good. They are at Indianapolis next. Not a great matchup, but not terrible. But it's not going to be as good as you would hope. Tight ends, we got a couple of tight end names to bring up, man. If you're having a frustrating time with your tight ends, which I know it's been a tough year, as it always is, tight ends are just tough. But we got a couple names here. First one, Pat Freiermuth of the Pittsburgh Steelers, 11% rostered. Dude, 2 games in a row with 7 targets. So again, for tight ends, like I said, if I can get a tight end and get me 6 targets, I'm pretty happy. But I'll start a tight end with 5 if I'm desperate. So if he's getting 7 a week, he's going to be good for the tight end position. So I really like his usage. I like how Ben Roethlisberger is targeting him. So I think he's a great choice. They get Chicago at home next. Tough defense, but again, I think he's a good player to roster. And then one more time, let's dip back into that terrible Jacksonville Jaguar pool with Dan Arnold, their tight end. Unbelievable, man. 10 targets. 10. Marvin Jones got 7. Okay, 10 to Dan Arnold. Obviously, that's great volume. He's going to be productive with that kind of volume. Past 3 weeks, he's gone 8 targets, 5 targets, 10 targets. So it's a little uneven there, but it's not terrible. And if you need a tight end, man, I think he's a good choice. So, pick it up. Buffalo at home is obviously their next choice, their next game. Not going to be a great matchup, but, anyway, I guess he's worth a roster spot, I guess. Ugh, I hate Jacksonville. So let's just wrap it up right now with some defensive streamers. First one I want to talk about, 46% roster, the New Orleans Saints, who have been pretty good for fantasy this year. That defense has been surprisingly productive, including last week's game against Tampa Bay. They did very, very well. They scored a lot of points. Great choice to start. I benched them in favor of Cincinnati. They outscored Cincinnati. I don't know what happened with Cincinnati. How did they lose to the Jets? I don't even know how that happened. But anyway, they get Atlanta Falcons at home. No Calvin Ridley. Absolutely a start. Absolutely a start for this next week. They're going to be fantastic for fantasy. I anticipate that they will be able to pretty much shut down that offense. I also like New England, who's currently only 55% rostered. They've been solid for fantasy the past 2 weeks. They get Carolina and a shaky Dan Arnold for week 9. So again, opportunity is what it's all about when it comes to defenses. You want interceptions, you want turnovers, you want fumbles. Sam Darnold does that in droves. He's fantastic at that. So take advantage. New England is another team. Pick up off the waivers, and you can start them. So that's it, man. That's it for my waiver wire pickups for week 9. So good luck. Go out and make some claims. And again, don't just make a claim on one. Claim multiple players against a single player on your team. So if you miss on your top choice, you can still grab your second choice and you still get your third choice if you miss on your second. It just makes it a lot better. And, good luck, man. Good luck with week 9. My totally, schizophrenic teams where I've got teams that are doing so well right now, and I got teams that are doing so bad, and they're just breaking my heart every week. I'm hoping. I don't have much time either. In the FFPC, it's only a 12-week regular season. So we got 9, 10, 11. So I got 4 weeks left. I got to turn this around. I got to win out in order to get these teams back into playoff contention right now. Because again, they've lost 3 games in a row, and it's just, it's tough. It's tough, but that's what fantasy football is all about. I want more of these medals. That's what I want. I want more of these medals this year. And I have 2 teams that were so solid, but again, injuries on some key players have really hurt me. And let me just say one more thing, man. Here's one thing that I really learned as well. Do not draft injured players on your fantasy team. I drafted Michael Thomas. I drafted Curtis Samuel. I thought I was getting great deals on them. Those guys have hurt my team. I passed up on some really good options in the 8th or 9th round for those jokers, and they still haven't played for me. Don't do that to yourself. Let some other fool team do it. Make the other team the fool next year. When it comes to next year, when you're looking at these injured players that are undergoing surgery or going to miss 4 to 6 weeks, just assume worst case scenario. Do not even bother with them in the with your draft, because the draft is the only time you can control injuries. And if you draft an injured player, you are drafting that problem onto your team. Let someone else take that problem. I will take a better option that's going to be more productive for me and is actually going to do something for my team, unlike these guys, which haven't done literally anything. Whole season, literally they've done nothing. So anyway, that's my vent. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you putting up with me, and I'll be back on Wednesday to talk about the starts and sits for week 9. So thanks so much, and we will talk soon. Have a good one, everybody.